Welcome to the Football Forecast, your ultimate guide to the NFL week ahead. Get ready as we dive deep into the biggest matchups, analyze key player performances, and break down the strategies that could make or break your favorite team's chances. Whether you're looking to dominate your fantasy league, make smart picks and bets, or simply stay ahead of the game, we've got you covered with insights and predictions. So buckle up, football fans. It's time to get your game face on for another action-packed week in the NFL. While only one team can hoist the trophy at the end, it all starts with the forecast. Welcome back to the Football Forecast Week 17, Part 2 on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. Make sure you follow us on social media at TFB Forecast, ETB, Twitter, Instagram, and if TikTok still survives, it's there at TFB Forecast, ETB. Follow our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network to find this and all other shows involved in the Empty the Bench Podcast Network as we get close to 900 subscribers. And we want to get to that goal of 1,000. So please hit that button. If you hear me say like and subscribe a million times, it's because I want to see that rainbow loop that goes around the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. So like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Also, if you can't watch on the video side, listen to the Football Forecast wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Acast, YouTube Premium, wherever you get your podcast. If you can't watch the video, it's a good, if you're on a run or a jog and you need a laugh, just take us with you in your ears. You'll hear things you don't normally hear on a normal football show. Also, Football Forecast and the ETB Network presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience, from playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. We're in the NBA season. We didn't do the Christmas games the other day, but it was actually a pretty good Christmas Day game, according to Kevin Durant. It was a decent Christmas Day slate. I don't know if I believe half the stuff he says, but I do agree it was a decent Christmas Day slate. And if I'm not mistaken, Victor Wembanyama broke a 40-point record on Christmas Day. So join our playback streams, and we'll do a bunch of NBA. All right. Before we get into the slate, did anybody watch the games on Netflix?
I did, yeah.
What did we think?
Zane, you go first.
Well, the coverage of the games overall was good. The quality of the games, not so much. The Ravens dominated the Texans, and then of course, Kansas City looked really good against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh just looked totally out of sync from the second that game started until it was over. Just really disappointing performances by both teams that lost, and it clearly showed me that that Kansas City is still, if not the class of the AFC, they're still right up there. And it also showed me that this Baltimore Ravens team, no matter how you slice it or dice it, is still obviously mathematically alive for a division title. So I think if you're an NFL fan that had no dog in either fight on Christmas, it was overall a solid day. But if you were a fan of any of these four teams, you were definitely a little bit more nervous than not. But I will say, from an NFL standpoint, I think it was a success. Netflix is accessible to a lot of people. I saw reports that, people in over 200 countries saw the Netflix games, which is very good to see the growth of the sport. And I look forward to seeing what other ventures Netflix goes into, because if they can start to propel this live sports thing, I think it'll be good for everyone.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, Zan, I think next year will be a big test. And I think this whole changed when the WWE announced that Monday Night Raw is going to be exclusively on Netflix starting on January 6th. I thought once that came out, that was a game changer for the streaming service in general. I'll say this: I was over at my mom's watching it, and I thought the coverage was absolutely fantastic. Well, first off, the quality was great, which was very, very important after the whole Jake Paul, Mike Tyson controversy, disaster, whatever you want to say. But I thought the quality was outstanding, and I thought the coverage of it, from the pregame show to the studio coverage to the broadcast and everything in between, was absolutely fantastic. It was a win-win for the NFL. They posted on Thursday that it reached 65 million viewers in the U.S., which was far and away more than the NBA games. So I think it's official to say now that the NFL probably stole Christmas as their holiday as well. Maybe the NBA has to look into going to Christmas Eve. But, it's all set up now for next year. You can see it right now, a Netflix doubleheader, and then Thursday night, Christmas night on Amazon Prime Video. You can see it right now. It's shaping up to be a triple header for the NFL on Christmas Day too. So it's success all around once again for the National Football League.
Well, it is a 3-year deal, so they are doing this for another 2 years.
Okay, it is 3 years. Okay,
150 million over 3 years, which I actually thought that's kind of cheap, considering I thought it would have been a lot more for 3 years. But I have those stats because you were saying it. So according to Nielsen, it was in 65 million for 65 million viewers in the U.S. Ravens, Texans, and Chiefs. Those are the two most streamed NFL games in U.S. history, with an average audience of over 24 million views each.
Well, that makes sense considering how many subscribers have Netflix. Right? So that's also a big thing too. And I may have been on mute as I was trying to say this, but do you guys have any opinions on LeBron James saying that the NBA still overtakes Christmas, or do you think he's just saying that to get attention?
Go ahead, Nick.
So I saw that. Obviously, I knew he was going to try and garner attention for the NBA. Now, what I will say is, traditionally, Christmas is an NBA holiday. It normally is, but the NFL is looking to steal everybody's lunch. They're the big bad bully now when it comes to professional sports. Now, I'm sure it also helped, that they had Beyonce performing at halftime, because it says that the viewership peaked at 27 million viewers when Beyonce was performing at halftime.
Huge.
It was huge. The show was amazing. They obviously put a ton of production value, even though I did read on the side that apparently some of the sound effects and stuff you heard was not actually there. Like, they did it on the Netflix side, which I didn't understand or why. But overall, the games were not great. The Ravens just totally destroyed the Texans. It looked like the Texans just didn't want to play. Like, they just did not show up. CJ Stroud is regressing a little bit. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of all the injuries that they've had. That Tank Dell injury was gruesome. Like, it was really bad last week.
Yeah, have you seen how bad actually it is, though?
CJ Stroud wouldn't get out of the hospital vehicle that they were taking him, the ambulance.
Yeah. They're talking about him at the earliest, it looks like possibly it would be 2026.
I read a rumor that his career could be over.
Yeah.
Possibly, because I think he had a kneecap issue and a torn ACL.
And LCL and additional damage too. It's really bad.
He basically damaged every part of his leg.
Yeah.
Basically, which I didn't know that was possible, to be honest with you. But the games are not great. And then hearing Mike Tomlin say after every game, "Oh, well, we can't play like this." Well, isn't that like 4 in a row or 3 or 4 in a row they've lost now?
It's 3 straight. Yeah,
and basically they can kiss their divisional goodbye because now they have to hope that the Ravens lose to the Browns.
Yeah, I think right now the way the Steelers look, they look like a one and done team in the playoffs. That's
I agree.
I've been high on the Steelers all season, and even I'm saying that right now.
But long story short, I will say the quality was great, not the game, the quality of the stream. Because I was saying to Johnny and the guys before, whenever the NFL gets behind something, they will not get embarrassed whatsoever. So they worked their you-know-what's off to make sure the quality of that stream was not going to be like Paul Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically how I say. Anthony, how did you see it?
Yeah, I agree that the production was obviously outstanding. Obviously, the game themselves were blowouts, like you guys said. But obviously the NFL can't control that. I mean, if you looked at it coming into the season, these were supposed to be two good games, and they should have been close. Obviously, some injuries happened. But when you really look at Houston, obviously, the Tank Dell injury, like I said before, I really hope he makes a full recovery. I know he tore every single thing in his leg, and I hope in 2026 he can come back better and stronger than ever. But when we look at this Houston team, they didn't have Stephon Diggs last year. They didn't have Tank Dell last year as well. They also didn't have Joe Mixon. They still had Nico Collins, and he still has C.J. Stroud. And I would argue that their defense may be better this year than it was last year. So if you honestly think about it, the Houston Texans shouldn't be as bad as they are. I know we could talk about the injuries, but they're a more talented team than they were last year. So I think they should be a better team, and I think C.J. Stroud has regressed a little bit. We've seen sophomore slumps with quarterbacks. NFL teams get some game tapes on a player, and they sometimes have a step back, and then sometimes they'll make a step forward, hopefully in year 3. Obviously, I think the offensive line for the Texans as well is taking a step back. So that's something that we're going to have to watch. And then one thing I want to say is for the Baltimore Ravens, as much as of a Josh Allen fan as I am, and as much as I think he is the best player in the NFL, and I think he does more with less than any other quarterback, I think it's hard to argue right now against Lamar Jackson for MVP. I mean, when you look at the number this guy's putting up, the guy's going to end up with over 40 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions. I mean, if you look at his passing numbers, the guy's passing it like prime Aaron Rodgers, while also adding about 800 to 900 yards on the ground. So, I mean, it's hard not to give a guy like that MVP. And now with the way their team's going and the way the Steelers are going, they're probably going to end up winning the division. They're going to probably end up being the 3rd seed. I just don't see how you're not going to be able to give Lamar Jackson the MVP at this point.
That's interesting, considering your guy is up there for the MVP as a candidate. But, all right. We got to the Netflix games. Let's get into it whenever you are ready to go, Johnny.
Yeah, I was just actually the one thing I needed to pull up real quick, kind of important thing for this week is playoff scenarios. That's going to come up a lot this week. So I have them up here right now, so I will do that as well as we get you ready here for week 17. Can't believe, as we continue week 17, I should say, the penultimate week of the NFL season and the final time for the 4 of us here in 2024. All right, Anthony, we'll start with you. We have 3 Saturday games to get us going here today, and we start with a Chris Rose, Ross Tucker, Steve Weiss special on the NFL Network. In New England, we've got Justin Herbert and the Chargers taking on the New England Patriots and Drake May. And in Foxborough, the Chargers a 4-point favorite.
Yeah, I know I picked the Patriots to not beat the Bills, but definitely not to let the Bills cover. And I was definitely right on that, but I'm not going to stick with them this week. I'm going to go with the Chargers to win and cover. I just think the Chargers' defense is just way too good. They're going to be able to force Drake May into multiple interceptions. I think they'll be able to get their running game going. I do like the Patriots' defense. I think they can be stingy here and there. But Justin Herbert overall this season has been able to keep the ball clean. I think he'll be able to do that in this one. So I think the Chargers will win this game based on defense alone.
So the Chiefs, we forgot to mention this in the open. The Chiefs did clinch the AFC number 1 seed because they won on Christmas Day. Now the Chargers can clinch a playoff berth if they win or tie, or Miami loses or ties and Indy loses or plus an Indy loss or tie. So if the Chargers win, then they'll clinch a playoff berth. And I think they will. I have them winning and covering this game. And I'm going to try and make this very, very simple. They need this game more. They're the more talented team. They're the more rested team. And they're the team that I believe in more. And they, I think, are built for the colder weather. I mean, I know they play indoors, but they can go out there and they can do this. And early window East Coast games haven't faced Jim Harbaugh this season. So I will lay the 4 points with the Chargers on Saturday. Nick?
Yeah, I like the Chargers here too. I just want to point out, just because I'm thinking about the Patriots and the Bills game from last week, did anyone catch the obscure Nickelodeon reference from last week? The Drake and Josh, because of the quarterbacks?
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, I'm a 90s kid. So that was, of course, the thing I was going to see. I just thought that was hilarious, even though obviously what's going on with Nickelodeon. But I just thought that was a little bit of a fun fact, little cool reference. I like the way Drake May is playing. He's finally finding his own. And I think this is just going to make him better the more he plays. And I think he's going to become a top 10 quarterback, possibly next year or in the next 2 years. I think he's going to be better, but they need more. They need more weapons. And The Chargers are just more prepared. Herbert is playing better. I don't know if you saw the gifts that he got his offensive line, like some of the other quarterbacks got during the holiday week. That was kind of interesting too. But yeah, I'm going to take the Chargers. They're just simply the better overall team.
And Zan.
Yeah, I like the Chargers too. Pretty much all the reasons that you guys alluded to are kind of why I'm looking at, or will take them as well. But also just for the simple fact that the Patriots don't really need to win a game like this. This is more of a developmental game for Drake May. This is a game to see, probably some of these guys that are playing in New England. Some of them might end up becoming to play for their jobs as well. So they kind of know that for some of them, their season is afloat. Obviously, they're way out of the playoff picture, but at the very least, though, I do think that New England will keep this game somewhat close. But the Chargers are going to find a way late. They're going to probably force a couple turnovers late, and they'll probably win by about 10. I'm going to say 34-24. It'll be a good game. New England might be winning at one point, but again, I just think the talent gap is very apparent between Los Angeles and New England, and for those reasons, I like the Chargers to cover it on the road.
By the way, I just want to point out, was anyone shocked by how close that game was, considering that the Bills were a 14-point favorite?
A little bit, but divisional games, we've seen that a lot this year. It's been tough to navigate the divisional games, and every now and then the Bills do have one of those tighter games that you don't expect them to get, but they did win at the end of the day.
But I didn't expect them to lead at the half. That's where I was a little shocked, a little bit.
And we'll get to them in just a little bit, but at least for all of us, it is a clean sweep there at Gillette Stadium. Nick, it is, in fact, a Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, Melanie Collins special on the NFL Network as Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos head to Paycor Stadium to face Joe Burrow and your Cincinnati Bengals. And it's the Bengals laying 3.5. And we do have a playoff scenario in this game, too. If Denver can clinch a playoff berth, very simply, if they win or tie. So factor all that in. What do you have here?
So all the analysis that I've been hearing on this game, everyone says that Burrow is going to come out and absolutely just throw like 3, 4, 5 touchdowns in this game. What do the Bengals have to play for in this game? Their playoff scenarios are done, right? They can't make it.
They can.
It's really hard though. It's going to be hard.
They've got to I don't have it in front of me, but they've got to win out, and I think the Dolphins and something combination of the Dolphins and the Colts too.
That just sounds like a lot.
They're still alive, but it's not going to be an easy route. But I think they have to win out to at least have a chance.
And you said if the Broncos win, they're in?
Very simply, if the Broncos win this game, they will be in.
So just to give you guys some clarity, this is according to Bengals Wire on USA Today. These 5 things need to happen, and this is the only way the Bengals can get in. They need to beat Denver in Week 17. They need to beat Pittsburgh in Week 18. Denver needs to lose to Kansas City in Week 18. The Colts must lose one of their final 2 games, and Miami has to lose one of their final 2 games as well, and that's it. If one of these things doesn't break Cincinnati's way, the season is over.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's slim pickings, especially when you look at who the Colts and the Dolphins still have to play.
Yeah, for some reason, I just feel like the Broncos are going to come out and like be aggressive because like they need to win to get in, and I don't know. I mean, this is not a shocker, but this is more for a reason of I just think the Broncos are going to be more hungry to compete and really want that playoff spot. I understand like Burrow's getting a bad rap all year, and there's been injuries, and the defense has not been so good. It's really not on him. If a few games went the other way, we would probably be talking about Burrow being an MVP candidate, the way his record really is going. So I just think the Broncos are going to be more hungry. So I'm going to take the Broncos.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, even if you don't put them on the money line, if you got them getting that extra half point too. So that also helps in this kind of matchup. Zan?
Yeah, I'm going to be a little different than you guys, and I'm going to say that the Bengals are going to win, but I actually don't think they'll cover the spread. I think Cincinnati knows that, really what they can control at the moment is their own results, and the rest is going to have to take care of itself, quote unquote. And I think that's going to motivate Burrow to play his standard that I think everybody knows. I think Denver's a good team. I think they've had a few close calls this year, but I think they failed to clinch this week and put themselves in a pressure situation going into the final game of the year. So I think it's going to be one of these really close down to the wire game-winning field goal type games. I think it's going to be 28-27 Cincinnati. So Cincinnati wins, but they won't be able to cover the 3.5 number, and that is my first slight upset, quote unquote, just in terms of playoffs. Because I know it wouldn't really be an upset from a betting perspective, but I think everybody knows that Denver is technically the better team going in, but I just think that Cincinnati will be able to play a little bit better. And this is one of those scenarios where, if you put Denver and Cincinnati up against each other 100 times, Denver probably wins 90 of them. This is one of those ones where I just don't think they'll be able to do it. So give me the Bengals, but no cover.
Anthony?
Yeah, one thing I'm looking forward to is I want to see Pat Surtain going up against Jamar Chase. I mean, you potentially got the best cornerback in all of football against the best receiver. Now, I know a lot of times the way they might scheme, and you might see T. Higgins against Pat Surtain, but either way, that's a great matchup as well. Now, when we talk about the Bengals playoff scenarios, I honestly can see most of all that happening. I think one thing that's going to hurt the Bengals now is the fact that the Chiefs already locked up the home field advantage. Are they really going to play to try to win that game against the Broncos? I think if they would have lost and had to play that game, I think they would beat the Broncos. Now that they don't, Pat Mahomes probably starts the game and doesn't finish it. They probably play Carson Wentz most of the game. The Broncos probably win it. And ultimately, I think that's going to be the one scenario that's going to ultimately keep the Bengals out. If that scenario didn't happen, the Chiefs had to win that game, I think all those scenarios are probably happening. I would predict right here as a hot take that the Bengals will go all the way and make the playoffs. But I'm going to start right here, and I think the Bengals are going to win this game. I think the last 2 weeks, Bo Nix, I'm a Bo Nix guy. I think he's a great quarterback, but after the last 2 weeks, he's definitely not going to get Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think Jaden Daniels locked that up last week. Bo Nix has struggled the last 2 games, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing. Obviously, I think he'll improve. He's a rookie quarterback. But I think way Jamar Chase and the way Joe Burrow's playing, I think they'll be able to score enough points against that Broncos defense, and I don't think Bo Nix will be able to score enough points to beat Joe Burrow. So give me the Bengals and take the money.
I will say that, Anthony, you converted me to a Bo Nix guy. That's rare that someone gets me to convert to like a quarterback. You did.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Anthony, I agree with him 100% on what he said there. I'm going to try and add a few things to this. Number one, I mean, to Nick's point, this is the kind of game that the Bengals have yet to prove they could win this season. They're 0-7 against teams that currently have a winning record. And the funny thing is, and I feel like I'm going to channel Nick as well in saying this, it feels like the Broncos a lot this year have been undervalued and the Bengals have been overvalued. And, now laying an extra half a point is a little bit risky. But I think what Anthony said is right, though. What you're basically doing in this game is you're almost asking Bo Nix to keep up and even outplay Joe Burrow. And the only way I can see him doing that is if the Broncos defense can get an interception. And honestly, I mean, Pat Surtain, that's certainly possible. But the Bronco defense has not been playing great the last couple of weeks. They've given up a lot of yards, almost 500 to Jameis Winston and almost 300 to Justin Herbert. I think the only thing I can really guarantee with this game is that I think it is going to be a shootout. The over probably is the better play of anything else. I mean, if there is an option, if we had to pick best bets, my best bet would be the over in this game. But I'm still going to trust Burrow and his receivers to get it done here in a bit of a higher scoring game. I think by a touchdown is certainly possible. I think but the thing that worries me is I just don't think Bo Nix can keep up with Burrow. And again, unless you think Pat Surtain or something like that can get an interception, maybe. But that defense has been exposed the last couple of weeks. So I am going to lay the 3.5 and take the Bengals to keep their playoff hopes alive on Saturday afternoon into Saturday night.
By the way, the over-under is 49.5 currently.
Yeah, I take the over. I think this game's in the 50s. Even a 28-24 game gets that over. I mean, that certainly could do it. By the way, just to show you how difficult this game is, we are split across the board here because we've got Grant and Ben taking the Broncos and Nick D taking the Bengals. So we are definitely split here in Cincinnati. And then to the Saturday night game, Rich Eisen, Kurt Warner, Jamie Erdahl special on the NFL Network as Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals go to SoFi Stadium to take on Matt Stafford and the Rams, and it's the Rams laying 6.5, and I'll go first. And this is my lock of the week. I love the Rams to win and cover this game. I mean, this is a perfect matchup for them to do it, and perfect matchup for me to put my lock on. This is a battle-tested Rams team on the verge of clinching a playoff spot against a Cardinals team that's deflated and eliminated. And from a defensive perspective, Kyler Murray facing a zone-heavy defense, and he struggles against zone schemes. And also the history with the Rams late in the season with Sean McVay at home or just in general in December is great. So I think the Rams do win and cover this game, and this will be my lock of the week. Nick?
So looking at this game, I like the Rams. I took them as a lock last week. The Cardinals kind of surprised me the way they played last week. They needed that game really bad. Actually, I shouldn't say really bad. It eliminated them from the playoff contention. I thought they were going to play better last week, and they just kind of fell apart down the stretch. The Rams, I don't really know where to put them, because they play great. They're right below the top tier teams, but I think they'll win. I think they'll cover. I think the Cardinals are just, now that they're out, they really have nothing to play for. So I just don't think they're going to compete as hard as they would have if they were still in the race. So I'm going to take them to cover.
My order here is a little out of order with the playoff scenarios. So the Rams can clinch the NFC West division title with a win and Seattle loss or tie, or even if they tie and Seattle loses. So if they win and Seattle loses on Thursday night, or ties, they will clinch the NFC West. Zan?
Yeah, I mean, this game probably should have been bigger than what it's turned out to be, considering that Arizona is out. I was thinking of leaning a lock on this as well, but I just think that Kyler Murray will play well enough to keep this game a little bit too close for my liking. I do like the Rams to cover the spread, though, so I will go conservative on that front. I think that they've clearly shown that, the team that was going to come back and win the West, likely to begin with, and now they have every reason and are in a position to do so. And I just think overall they're the better football team. And Johnny, I'm going to take the words that you literally just said, because you're 100% right. Arizona is depleted. You can't go into Carolina, play down to your competition and expect to win. And sure enough, it bit them right where it hurt, if you will, when the game went to overtime and they lost. So now that they have nothing to play for, I think that the Rams will play well enough to win. They know their NFC West hopes are at stake. So give me the Rams to win this game and cover at home, and likely the biggest game of the year and the biggest game for the Rams, arguably the biggest home game for the Rams in quite a couple of years. I'd have to go back and do some more digging at that, but I can't recall a game at SoFi, at least in the last 3 to 4 years, that had this much meaning than this one does. And I personally believe that the Rams should be able to win this game. So give me the Rams to win and cover.
And Anthony.
Yeah, this game scares me, if I'm being honest. Everything just seems like you have to pick the Rams, and that's what scares me. It feels like this game could end up being a trap. And I feel like this is one of those games we're all going to look back and be like, wow, damn, it was a lot closer than we think. And it's a division game. So that makes me also want to pick Rams no cover. But, I mean, after the way this Cardinals team has been struggling, I mean, what happened against Seattle, what happened against Carolina, and then on the opposite side, what the Rams have done, beating the Bills, beating the Jets. I mean, the Rams right now are one of the scariest teams. They're probably the team you don't want to see in the playoffs. So because of that, I have to pick the Rams no cover, but I definitely can't lock this one at all because it does scare me. I think Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua are going to have a great game. I don't think the Cardinals defense will have an answer for that passing attack. So give me the Rams to win and cover.
Oh, you are taking them to cover.
You say win and cover or win no cover?
Win and cover, yes.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Okay.
Ben, by the way, is the only one that's not doing that. He is taking the Cardinals plus the 6.5, but we all are going to take the Rams to win and cover. We all think the Rams are going to win, but he's the only one that's going to lean slightly different. So those are including the 3 games we did earlier in the week, that's the first 6 games of week 17. Not one of them shown on broadcast TV. Sign that times are changing. But we will go to broadcast TV now the rest of the way as we go to the Sunday slate. Zan, we'll go to you here first. It is, in fact, a Joe Davis, Greg Olson, and Pam Oliver special on Fox. This game flexed to the 1 p.m. window, as the Dallas Cowboys take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the big question mark with this game is, will Jalen Hurts clear concussion protocol in time to start on Sunday? Otherwise, we're going to see Kenny Pickett there for the Eagles. And this line opened up as the Eagles laying 9.5. Right now, they're still laying 6.5. Zan, what do you think?
Yeah, so my pick is based on whether or not Jalen Hurts obviously is going to play. So actually, let me fix that for a second. My pick is based on assuming that Jalen Hurts does not clear concussion protocol. So with that being said, I think the Eagles win this game against Dallas, but I don't think, just given the lack of playing time that Kenny Pickett has had this year, that the Eagles will do enough to cover. Well, give me the Eagles in the no cover there. I think they are the better team than Dallas, but when you don't have your main workhorse in Jalen Hurts, which is arguably going to hurt a lot of fantasy owners, myself included, as I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my quarterbacks in one of my leagues, considering that he's my primary starter. I don't feel comfortable picking the Eagles to cover in this spot, assuming he doesn't play. But still, I'd like the Eagles to win, so I'm gonna go with thumbs middle on that one specifically.
Anthony?
Yeah, I honestly, the Cowboys have playing pretty good football over the last few weeks, and I'm going to pick this off based on the fact that I don't think Jalen Hurts will probably be able to play. More than likely, when you have a guy with concussion, they usually end up missing that next week, so I don't see it's likely that he clears. So I think it'll probably be Kenny Pickett. In that scenario, I mean, honestly, Cooper Rush might be the better quarterback. I mean, he hasn't really played all that bad. But I did see that CeeDee Lamb might be out.
He is out.
CeeDee Lamb's dealing with some injuries, and they might put him on the IR and rest him up for the rest of the season.
He is out. He's done for the year.
So, I mean, just based on that alone, even though, like I said, Cooper Rush might be better than Kenny Pickett, now that CeeDee Lamb's out, and I know the Cowboys have played good, maybe Mike McCarthy's been able to save his job over the last few weeks. I'm not sure about that, but that's the discussion. I'm still going to go with the Eagles to win and cover. Even with Kenny Pickett at quarterback, this team just has way too much talent on offense and defense. And, I mean, it took a great game from Jaden Daniels and a great comeback from the Commanders team to still beat this Eagles team. And I just think the Cowboys just don't have the talent to beat this talented Eagles team with or without Jalen Hurts. So take the money on the Eagles.
So if the Eagles win or tie, or Washington loses or ties, then the Eagles will clinch the NFC East division title. Zan, I agree with you, though. There's too many unknowns in this game. And Anthony had said it too. The CeeDee Lamb injury is officially out for the season. There is. But the Cowboys are playing better, and their defense has been playing better. That's been a big thing, too. Since Micah Parsons' return, they're actually, since week 12, they have been the most opportunistic. They're tied for first in takeaways, and they lead the league outright in sacks. This actually feels a lot closer than the first meeting. I know the first meeting I did take the Cowboys to cover, but this one feels even closer than that. So I'm absolutely taking the Cowboys to cover this game. I do still think the Eagles are going to eke out a win here, but I mean, we're doing this now, and Jalen Hurts has still not hit the field yet for practice. That's not a good sign as you head closer to game time. So I am going to take the Cowboys to cover based solely on that, but I do think the Eagles will still win. I just don't think they have enough. I don't think the Cowboys have enough to slow down enough Barkley in that unit. So that's why I'm going to take the Eagles to win, but give me the Cowboys plus the 6.5. Nick?
Well, I'm going to pull this out for the first time. It's going to be twice. So here's what I think of this spread. So, yes, I think the spread is too large. I think Vegas is overestimating the Jalen Hurts injury or concussion, being in concussion protocol. We all know concussion protocol could last anywhere from 2 weeks to 8 or 9 weeks, especially Tua. We've seen what's happened with Tua, and somehow they allowed him back on the field, even though he's been concussed, 5 or 6 times, at least on the record. So I don't see him playing. If I'm the Eagles, I'm resting him up and trying to and hopefully he gets back on the field for the playoffs. I wouldn't even play him next week, to be fair. Like, I think they could win one game of the next 2 without Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, you can win next week.
So just to clarify, you're taking the Eagles to cover then, even if Hurts doesn't play?
No, I'm saying they'll win, but I think the spread is too large because Jalen Hurts is not playing. Kenny
Okay.
Pickett scared me last week, the way he was playing against the Commanders. I mean, that like, I was nail biting during that game, thinking that I'm like, what's going on out here? Like, they're winning, and their offense looked confused with him out there. Like, they had no idea what they were doing.
And then they lost.
They were winning what? What was the score at the half?
Well,
I think they were,
after the first quarter, it was 21-7 Eagles.
yeah, and Kenny Pickett went in, and the offense forgot how to play after that. So Eagles no cover.
Jaden Daniels and the winning one with like 7 seconds left. It was disgusting.
The one thing also too was the ejection by CJ what's his name? CJ.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah,
Gardner Johnson.
CJ Gardner Johnson.
That ejection was huge because when you were watching that, you saw that Jaden Daniels was targeting his replacement after he got ejected, which was at the makings of a great quarterback for a rookie. Absolutely, he was targeting that.
Also,
that
without Jalen Hurts, Saquon is now going to be double and triple teamed because they're just going to put every defender on the running game.
Nick, I think the public, though, is agreeing with you because on Monday morning, the book that we used for this had the Eagles at minus 10.5. So the numbers dropped 4 points and probably sharply in the last little bit.
I wouldn't be surprised if this dropped closer to like 4.5 or 4.
I was going to say the same thing, especially considering we have a few days until, and this is coming out. We'll have a few days until kick, and it'll probably end up being something totally different.
Yeah, it probably will be because even the morning of the recording, same book, Eagles minus 8.5.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think Vegas is grossly underestimating how bad the Jalen concussion could be.
Well,
and they're begging you to take Dallas. That's
the right play, though.
No, I agree.
All right, well, we'll see there. This is a big one. Another big one, Anthony, will go to you. An Iron Eagle, Charles Davis, Evan Washburn special on CBS. In the NFC South, it is Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers taking on Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And at Raymond James Stadium, the Bucs are laying 7.5.
Yeah, I think this point spread is a little high. I know the Buccaneers can blow out teams, but the way they looked against Dallas and the way the Panthers have been playing, I know they laid that egg against the Dallas Cowboys. But outside of that game, ever since Bryce Young's been renamed the starting quarterback, the Panthers' offense has been looking pretty great. And I know their defense is still not good, but Bryce Young and the offense has been able to keep them in games, and they look really good against the Arizona Cardinals. So obviously, I think the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield will be able to win this game. Baker Mayfield has been a really great quarterback this season. Mike Evans, I think he's going to have a great game. He's going to really try to finish with that 1,000-yard season. But I just think this is way too many points, and Bryce Young and the Panthers are playing way too good at football right now. So give me the Buccaneers no cover.
Totally agree with Anthony. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm taking the Panthers to cover the number because the playoff implications will definitely motivate the Bucs, especially off that bad game they had Sunday night. But they haven't been able to blow teams out lately, and the Panthers have been playing spoiler. They've been in a lot of these games for the last several weeks here, and we also know about how these divisional matchups have been. I mean, Bryce Young, it is amazing the turnaround that he's had in the last several weeks here, and also Chuba Hubbard's performance. And that also can help keep the Panthers on the field and the Bucs off the field. I think they keep it inside this number. I'm going to take the Bucs to win, but give me the Panthers to cover once again here down there at Raymond James. Nick?
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, I'm jumping on that same bandwagon. Actually, I'm taking the Panthers plus 7.5, mainly because the hook. And I rarely say this. I never say this ever, but the hook is actually what's bothering me here a little bit with the 7.5. Like if this is 6.5 and it's a touchdown game, that's different than a 7.5 winning by 8. I think that makes a huge difference here. Bryce has been playing way better now that he's more in a system and has finally figured it out. He's playing aggressive. He's keeping them in games. Is it perfect? No. Is it ugly? Yes. But he's figuring it out how to play as an NFL quarterback. Finally figuring it out. Also, if I'm not mistaken, Bucky Irving's been a little bit banged up the last couple of weeks. Right? Also, so he's been really good, by the way, and they really need to do everything in their power to hold on to him because he's been really good for them, running back wise. But I just think that this is going to be a Panthers plus the points. I just think they're going to find a way to stay in it down the stretch.
Zan?
Yeah, I'm actually going to disagree with all you guys, and I think Tampa Bay wins this game outright and covers the spread. I think they know that their division title hopes are at stake. They know they need Atlanta to lose. They're at home. This Panthers team, even though they have been playing better as of late, it's simply because of the competition that they played. And I understand these two went to overtime the first time they played in Charlotte, but I think Tampa Bay knows the mistakes that they made in the first matchup, and we're going to correct those. And I think Mike Evans has a very, very solid day. And I actually think he catches 2 touchdowns and helps a lot of fantasy owners, not me this time, but helps a lot of fantasy owners around the country win their championships this week. And I think that Tampa Bay wins the game, covers the spread, and and at least keeps their NFC South title hopes alive for at least the next few hours until Atlanta plays. So give me the Bucks to win and cover.
All right, we're split across the board because even the guys who aren't here with us this week are also split. I think Nick D took the Panthers to cover, and everybody else did take the Bucks to win and cover there in this NFC South matchup.
That's exactly right.
All right, now we go to some fast tracks, and we're going to try and get these out of the way because boy, some of these are really, really ugly. Including this one, although one of them is important for one team, but nevertheless, a Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, Megan O'Leary special on Fox as the Indianapolis Colts take on the Giants over at MetLife Stadium. Now, the question with this one, Anthony Richardson did pop up on the injury report, but they're hopeful he is going to play. And the quarterback roulette wheel, if you can say, landed on Drew Lock for the Giants. And the Colts are laying 7.5 points on the road. That doesn't matter. I'm taking the Colts because it's very simple. The Giants can't score, and they can't stop opponents from scoring. So that is the only notion you need to have. And also, the Giants are going to look to become the first team in NFL history to go 0-9 at home in a season. I think it's going to happen. I'm going to take the Colts to win and cover. Nick?
Yeah, you basically took the words out of my mouth. The Colts are going to cover. Hook doesn't apply here whatsoever.
Yeah.
You were right. Anthony Richardson is on the injury report. He'll play. I think he'll play. Pittman was on the injury report. He's full, ready to go. I just think it's more weapons. I think that's it. I think that's strictly what happened. I obviously am a little annoyed that from last week because I thought Penix Jr. was not going to come out and play tough against the Giants, being his first start, and completely annihilated the Giants. So I am not going to fool me once, shame on them. Fool me twice, shame on me. Not falling for that again. Colts covered.
Took him a little bit of time, but he definitely played well, especially in the second half. Let's go to Zan. What about you?
Yeah, not only am I going Colts cover, but this Giants team is so bad, and I've seen very little from this team that I'm actually comfortable taking the Colts as my lock of the week. The Colts obviously know that they need this game for their playoff lives, whatever remote hope that they have left, and they couldn't be getting a Giants team at a more perfect time. It was just depleted with injuries. No matter who the quarterback is, the Giants always struggle, and this is a game that regardless of who plays quarterback for the Colts, they should be able to win comfortably. So give me the Colts to cover the spread, and it is also my lock of the week.
Anthony?
Yeah, everybody covers against the Giants. It don't matter the team. It don't matter the quarterback. It don't even matter how high the points is. Either way, they're going to cover. So I think Anthony Richardson will have a decent game. Even if he's got a turnover or two, it won't matter because Drew Lock's probably going to have a couple of pick sixes as well. So give me the Indianapolis Colts to win and cover. And like I've been saying all year, there's only one person that can save the New York Giants, and that's Shedeur Sanders.
You and I are going to have a talk about that in the off season because I'm not ready to go down that road with Shedeur. You
might not have a choice.
They will have a choice. They're going to be the number one. They're going to be the number one seed, the number one overall pick.
That's a good point.
But we'll have plenty of time to spend on that because the draft there's going to be so much to discuss. We also don't know if the head coach and the GM are still going to be there. A lot to discuss with them in the off season. Thank goodness, there's only 2 more weeks left. All right. Speaking of that, Nick, we'll go to you here. By the way, we have a Nick versus Anthony special in this next one. Nick, a Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson special on CBS. It is the Jets, your Jets against Anthony's Buffalo Bills. and the Bills a 9.5-point favorite.
So I don't know whether to be turned off by the fact that they didn't cover against the Pats last week. That was kind of a question mark to me. I know it's a divisional game. In my opinion, that whole divisional thing doesn't really matter.
I don't think so. I don't think so either.
Because those teams were so far apart when it comes to talent level. I just think the Bills, for whatever reason, were a step slow out of the gate, and that's why they were trailing at the half. But the Jets are just such a bad team. They're such a bad team. And of course, I have to see this stupid Netflix documentary in my face for the last couple of days. How he's out, how Aaron Rodgers is out in whatever country he's in. I don't know what country he's in. Looking at butterflies and on whatever drug he's on or whatever, and basically going kumbaya on a carpet. Yeah, and there's turmoil going on in the locker room. Garrett Wilson might be getting traded. There's so much going on in the locker room. And where is it here? This could be my lock. Yeah. Okay. And again, this is a lot for me. But the Jets are just such a dysfunctional organization. I mean, heck, Woody Johnson's sons are determining by Madden ratings who they want on the roster. Did you see what they did to the rumor that came out about Jerry Jeudy? That the reason I didn't trade for him because it wasn't a high enough Madden rating?
Yeah, that's insanity.
Who else does that?
Nobody. No, zero.
Not even the Bears.
Please give me Jeff Bezos. Please. I will take Jeff Bezos right now. I'm begging. Woody, sell the franchise. Just sell the franchise. Please.
Well, unfortunately, he will not be an ambassador in the next administration. So that, unfortunately, is
really doesn't make much of a difference. I think Zan, myself, with Woody Johnson, and you with the McCaskey family, I think we should go cry together.
Yeah, I think so too.
Zan will be saying, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you guys should. I mean, seriously, you guys obviously don't live in Chicago, but you should see the amount of either signs at every Bears game that say "sell the team." There's custom T-shirts that say "sell the team." It's unbelievable.
We're wearing bags over our heads, okay, at MetLife.
Yeah, we're actually so bad they're actually sharing them. It's that bad.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, let me go a little out of order here. Let me go to Anthony next.
Yeah, I think the division thing does matter, and I know last week the Bills were depleted with injuries on defense. I mean, they had their starting two safeties out. DeMar Hamlin was out, so they're relying on the rookie Cole Bishop. Kamar Elam, he's a complete joke. I mean, that's probably the worst pick of Brandon Beane's career in Buffalo. I mean, he's been absolutely awful, and with Douglas being out, having Elam out there is a complete liability. And I think the Patriots really try to bring out a lot of tricks in that game. They were very aggressive. They were going for it a lot on fourth down. They were really trying to go all out to try to get that win, and they almost got it. And I think the Jets, out of all the division teams that the Bills do play, the Jets are the ones that do give Josh Allen the most fits. And, I mean, even this season, they almost beat him the first time they played. So I know it's tough to say, and I know Nick doesn't ever agree with me when it comes to the Jets. And I always seem to have more faith in them than he does. But I'm going to go with the Bills no cover in this one.
All right.
Wow.
That's actually not shocking. Actually, I could see that happening too.
Zan, what about you?
I like the Bills to win outright. I just think this Jets team is awful. Every single week that you think they figured it out even remotely, they don't. I mean, wow. I mean, it looks like my lock, whether it was, I think it was last week now, my lock when I locked the Rams to beat the Jets looked like a scare. And of course, the Jets found a way to lose that one. Then there was a couple weeks ago where the Jets played Seattle. Seattle looked horrible, and they finally woke up in the fourth quarter. And there was the game a couple weeks ago that Nick M got screwed on in the Miami Jet game as well. So you never know. You never know what Jets team you're going to get. I mean,
wait a minute. Was that the 21-0 game, the Seattle one, or no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
21-7, I think, and they were about to go in for another score, and then Leonard Williams, our former buddy, both of you and I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I just think overall everything smells bad news for the Jets, whether it's the ownership, whether it's who their cancerous quarterback is at this point. I mean, this it's a total disaster. The Bills will win this game for sure, and they will cover the spread. The reason why I didn't lock it is simply because you never know. You might run into a situation last week where it looked like the Bills had the cover in the bag, and then they didn't cover it at the very end. But I think given that this Jets team is a dysfunctional mess, and the Patriots are actually playing more competitive football, as crazy as that is to say, in my opinion, I do think that the Bills have to cover this. So give me the Bills at home to get it done.
By the way, I'll give you a one-liner for this week. I would take Shedeur Sanders over Aaron Rodgers right now as my quarterback with the Jets.
You want to trade up?
I do. I would.
Right.
I would trade up for Shedeur Sanders and shove Aaron Rodgers as far as I could throw him away from this organization.
All right, good.
Well,
Right
did you hear what he said? Did you hear what Rodgers said about that on the Pat McAfee show? They asked him about whether if he would mentor a quarterback. He said that if the new coaching staff would want him to be on the team and mentor a young quarterback, he would be interested in staying on the team and mentoring the young guys. So maybe Aaron Rodgers comes back in 2025.
Yeah, you want to know my answer to that?
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God. Stop you fucking lying.
I'll make that trade right now because, I mean, we need a lot of help, and I'll take my chances with Drew Aller or Grant or Nussmeier next year if I have to. As far as this game goes, it's actually a little tricky in my book because, number one, how healthy is Aaron Rodgers? I mean, we know he's going to play, but, he got dinged up a lot last Sunday. Number two, how motivated are the Bills going to be considering they no longer can be the top seed in the AFC? But also, three, how motivated are the Bills after playing a real close one of the Patriots? I'm going to go with the third option and add better quarterback, better coach, better team. Taking the Bills to win and cover there up at Orchard Park.
You left out one more. What about his broken hand?
Well, that was something crazy that Rappaport came out with on Sunday morning, was the fact that Josh Allen has been playing pretty much the whole season with a broken hand.
That's crazy, right?
Well, I know. I mean, I saw that as I was finishing one of my stores first thing Sunday morning, and I was like, wow. But shows you what kind of year he's having and what kind of year this team is having. Although the AFC now looks like we'll have to roll through Kansas City once again. All right, now we got a couple of big games coming up here. They are fast tracks, but there are a couple of big games in the NFL draft order. So Nick and I also talking about draft order. Well, these teams will as well. Anthony, we'll start with you here. A Spiro Adam Aditi special on CBS. The 3-12 Titans and the 3-12 Jaguars battling, and it's the Jaguars a 1-point favorite.
Yeah, this is awful. Both teams definitely laid an egg last week. I mean, the Titans were absolutely getting blown out, and the Jaguars were getting destroyed by the Raiders, who a lot of people thought were the first or second worst team in the NFL. Obviously, that hurts the Raiders' draft odds getting the number one pick. Now that you mentioned draft order, but honestly, since they're both bad teams, I can't trust either of them. I'm just going to go simply and go with the home team. I'm just going to go with the Jaguars and just give me a blind pick, and I could be wrong. I think it's impossible to pick this game one way or another, but I'll just go with the home team and go with Jacksonville.
Yeah, blind pick. I mean, 2 3-12 teams, 2 backup quarterbacks. Man, it's not even picking a game really.
It's the battle of ugly.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Titans because I like their offense. I don't like the defense, but they actually scored some points with Mason Rudolph, and the Jaguars really haven't scored a lot with Mac Jones. I mean, I know they look better, but I'm going to go maybe the under again if you had to put money on this game. By the way, I think we have back-to-back degenerate gambler games, Nick, this week.
Oh, shoot. You said it before me. I actually was going to say that.
You can say it in the next game. I will take the Titans. That's where I'm going to go with. And the under maybe more than any other play.
That's what I was looking up, actually. But, all right, who's going?
It's your turn.
This is a battle of 2 teams that stink and 2 quarterbacks I hate the most. And I've been wrong about the Titans a few times, but Mac Jones has looked horrible out there. Really bad.
Horrible. Yeah, that's true.
That's
true.
There might be the opportunity that he could get cut and might be done with Jaguars if he continues to play this bad. This is bad. Do I really go with Mayo Boy here?
No, he's not starting. It's
Mason Rudolph. Okay,
yeah.
Okay, then I can take the Titans. Titans.
There you go. Yes. And Zan, what about you?
I like the I, I like the Jags in a defensive slugfest, just like the first game, and I think it's going to be a really, really, really bad pick six. It's gonna lose the Titans this game.
Not shocking.
They're gonna have all the momentum in the fourth quarter, and they're gonna find a way to lose like they usually do. Well, give me the home team.
Think about it, a battle of 3-12 teams, and somebody saying, "I like a team to win."
By the way,
right?
The over/under is 39.5. Right now,
I feel like under feels like a better play, right?
My final score of this game exactly is going to be 13-6 Jaguars.
Oh wow! So you're way under.
Well, it's not any different. It's not different than when they met a couple of weeks ago. It was 10-6.
That's a good point. I actually, the under is probably a good play in this game.
Yeah. By the way, just to show you how great this game is. So Nick, you took the Titans. Grant took the Titans. Ben took the Titans, and I took the Titans. And then Zan, Nick D, and Anthony took the Jaguars. So that's how split this one is.
By the way, I just wanted to say one thing because I was thinking about this for next year as a possible idea to add to make this a little more fun. I was thinking about next year, you're allowed one game. If you don't want to make a pick, you can pick the over-under as a possible.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, we'll work on that a little behind the scenes in the offseason. I think we should include some either player props or over-unders as side bets or side plays as well. That'll be for next season.
It's for next season, though.
Yeah, and before you know it, that'll be here. That's how fast this time goes by now. All right, Zan, we ended with you in that last big division, the last big NFL draft game, and we'll start with you in this other big NFL draft game, which features Adam Amin, Mark Sanchez, and Christina Pink on Fox. It is the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the New Orleans Saints at the Superdome, and the Raiders a 1-point favorite.
Yep. I like the Raiders. I think they played really well against the Jaguars last week. I think Alexander Madison had a really nice day fantasy-wise, and I see him having another big game on the ground. Give me the Raiders by whatever they want, but I actually think the final score of this one is going to be 28-10. I think they play sound fundamental football. I think the Saints have totally lost their way from a couple weeks ago. I think they got super lucky to even be in that game against the Commanders, and they fell back down to earth the very next week. And the Raiders did what they needed to do to beat Jacksonville. And I feel like this is going to be a de facto home game for the Raiders because I think that there's going to be just as many people who travel to New Orleans as there are going to be New Orleans Saints fans. So, give me the Raiders to win this and cover the spread on the road and potentially put a dent in their top overall draft pick hopes, depending on what happens in week 18.
Anthony?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders because of one player, and that's Brock Bowers. I mean, the guy as a rookie is probably the best tight end in all of football. And I mean, if you follow college football, you would know that because the guy at Georgia was unbelievable and pretty much dominated from when he stepped on the football field as a freshman. And he's pretty much doing the same thing in the NFL, and he's really giving his team a spark. He opens up the run game. He opens up the receivers as well. And the Saints, I mean, they got absolutely nothing. I mean, their receivers are hurt. Alvin Kamara has been injured. They're down to their second or third string quarterback. They just became the first team this season to get completely shut out last week, not being able to put up one single point. So I definitely can't pick them at all. So I'm going to go with the Raiders to win this one.
Yeah. Anthony, again, you and I are sharing a total brain on this because I was going to say the best player on the field is Brock Bowers. And, if we didn't have an unbelievable rookie class of quarterbacks, he would be the rookie of the year. With the numbers that he's putting up this year. But yeah, so there's that. But also this game, if you are struggling with this game, you give me the team with the better coach and the better quarterback. That is Antonio Pierce and Aiden O'Connell. That's what it is. And by the way, from us Giant fans, thank you, Antonio Pierce. I knew I could always count on you for always being great, for giving us that early Christmas gift by winning that game last Sunday. And he'll give us another one here at the end of the year. I'm going to take the Raiders to have a winning streak.
Unbelievable.
Yep. I knew he was one of my favorite Giants for a reason. Nick, what do you have?
Yeah, I have the Raiders too. The Saints are a dumpster, like a real dumpster fire. They've been all year. Derek Carr has been a joke, and he keeps getting hurt. I don't know how this guy keeps getting paid and just sits out season after season after getting hurt. Yeah, there's not much more I can really say. Even though I think the Raiders situation is an abomination, and Antonio Pierce should lose his job because of how bad this team has been. The only saving grace, like we said, is Brock Bowers. who's playing good football. Otherwise, they may not have a win right now if it wasn't for Brock Bowers at all. But the Saints are just terrible, like really bad. And by the way, Zan, you said it was going to be 28-10. That is the exact number on the over-under, 38. So just if you were curious on that front, I think that's actually kind of high. Actually, also, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. So I would take the under on that. But I am going to take the Raiders to cover. I just think by the smidge of margin, they're a little bit better because of Bowers. So take them up.
All right. And by the way, Grant and Ben are taking the Saints, so they will differ from us there, and they're in New Orleans. All right, now to the late window. Another fast-track game. Andrew Catalon, Tiki Barber, Jason McCourty, AJ Ross special on CBS. It's Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins, a 6.5-point favorite against the Cleveland Browns. And I'm going to go first. And, boy, this is going to be risky in doing this, but I'm taking the Dolphins to win and cover this because you're asking them to go out there in cooler weather, although it's supposed to be unseasonably mild there in Cleveland on Sunday. But you're asking the Dolphins to go out and win a big game on the road. And it's big because they're still technically alive in the playoff race. But, I mean, the Browns just don't have anything on offense. I mean, I know Dorian Thompson-Robinson has been starting. He actually is dealing with a calf injury. And so they might actually have a better chance if Winston starts. But as of right now, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So I'm going to take the Dolphins. Nick?
Yeah, you and I are kind of thinking the same on this one just because of the weather situation, even though you're saying it's going to be a little bit mild in Cleveland. I was wrong last week about the Dolphins because originally I thought because there were injuries to their wide receiver room, which they ended up playing. They're healthier now. They have more weapons. I'm not comfortable about it either, but I think they'll find a way to cover somehow, barely.
Zan?
I actually like the Browns in the outright upset. I really don't think this Miami team has been playing up to par as of late, and you just never know with Tua in bad weather. He usually plays pretty poorly. I understand both of you have said it's going to be mild, but I just think Miami going to the Northeast/Midwest, if you will, still in relatively cold weather is bad news. And this is a game where I think the dog pound is going to show up. I think a lot of people really have nothing to do this time you're in Cleveland, and you know that it's one of the last times they'll get to see the Browns for the year, and they're actually playing a pretty decent Miami team, knowing that everything's on the line. And I just think Miami's going to play flat, if you will, and knowing that this is the NFL and knowing that there's at least one major upset every Sunday, I think this is going to be the one. So give me the Browns to win outright.
Fair point. What about you, Anthony?
Yeah, something's got to give. Either Dorian Thompson-Robinson's going to get a win as a starting NFL quarterback, or Tua's going to be able to go on the road and win a cold weather game. Obviously, both of them are hard to see, and obviously you're not going to be able to put your faith in either. But since I got to pick one, I'm going to have to go with Miami to win and cover. Obviously the Browns made the quarterback switch. You got to see what you got in the young kid in Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but I think Jameis Winston does give them a better chance to win. Obviously, Jameis Winston's a quarterback that throws a lot of picks and turns the ball over, but at least he can give you some touchdowns. I mean, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is probably going to turn the ball over, and he's not going to be able to get the ball downfield or get you any scores. So at least if you lose, at least with Jameis Winston, at least you'll have an exciting close game. So, but because of that, I can't trust the Browns at all. I think Myles Garrett and the defense will do everything they can to try to make this a close game. But right now, given the Browns' current situation, I'm going to have to go with the Dolphins to win and cover.
So real quick, temperature high 54 on Sunday. Going to be breezy, though. They're talking about maybe 15-plus mile-an-hour winds and rain in the forecast on Sunday. But 54 in Cleveland in right before the new year, I think you'd sign up for that right now. So Zan going to be the lone wolf there in Cleveland. All right, Nick, big divisional matchup here. Flex to 425. A Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady, Aaron Andrews, and Tom Rinaldi special on Fox as Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers take on Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings, and the Vikings a 1-point favorite.
In my opinion, this is the best game of the week. in my opinion. I think most competitive game. Now, I don't know what the division situation. What is the scenario for them? Do we know?
All right. So the one thing I will say is if the Lions the Lions could clinch the NFC North title and the number 1 seed if they win and Minnesota loses.
This is a tough one. Like I had
But all 3 of those NFC North teams have clinched playoff spots already,
which is crazy considering how great that division has been. This year.
I mean, Nick, just to put in perspective, there could be a 13-win team in the NFL
as the 5 seed
team as playing on the road in the first round.
Right, as a 5 seed, which is crazy. But I had to go back and forth with this one because like the Packers are playing really good football right now. Jordan Love has had a resurgence this year, even though he's been hurt a little bit on and off. But the Vikings are playing good football too. I mean, like Sam Darnold, like probably earned himself a nice contract in the offseason alone just because of the way he's playing this year. Someone's going to overpay him. And I think, and from what I read, the Vikings just don't want to pay him. So he's going to go hit the open market. Someone will be desperate enough to overpay him. I think the Vikings receiver situation is a little bit better than the Packers. The running games, obviously I would take Josh Jacobs. So it's kind of like a right down the middle situation. Since that's the case and it's a pick'em game, I'm going to stick with the home team and take the Vikings to cover.
Zan?
I'm going to take the Packers. I've took the Packers the last few weeks, and they haven't let me down. And I've kind of told myself that I'm going to take the Packers till they lose. So I'm going to stick on that same train here. I think that Jordan Love has been playing really well. I think the Packers know that they can lay some headway, if you will, if they do end up claiming one of those wild card spots, which it very much looks like they're going to, considering either Detroit and or Minnesota is going to win in that division. So with that being said, I just think the Packers overall are the better team. They won in Minnesota last year, although that Minnesota team was very, very different. But I do just think in these divisional games, Green Bay has played pretty well as of late. And I just think overall, at least from what I've seen, they seem to be doing a little bit better offensively. But I could see this being a shootout. This is a very, very close line. Obviously, it's moved a little bit, but I do think the Packers do enough to cover it in the outright upset. So give me the Packers on the road.
Anthony.
Yeah, definitely splitting hairs with this one. Both teams are great, and honestly, both teams are good on both sides of the ball. I love both these teams' offenses, and I like their defenses. I mean, honestly, right now, given the state of the Detroit Lions and with their injuries on defense, you can make an argument that today maybe Minnesota and Green Bay are more complete teams right now than the Detroit Lions. And right now, the way these teams are playing, I think Sam Darnold's probably been a little bit better at the quarterback than Jordan Love, even though that's very close as well. I agree with Nick. I think the Vikings receivers are probably better. Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Now they got T.J. Hockenson back. It's really hard to go against that. And then when you look at it, I know the Packers are dealing with some injuries to their defensive backs. I know their 2 rookies, Bullard and Evan Williams, are dealing with some injuries. And I think when it comes to games this close, I think that could be the difference. And then also when you add to the fact that Minnesota is going to be the home team as well. So I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings to win. But, man, this is going to be a very close game that could go either way. And I would definitely say game of the week as well.
Yeah. Nick's right. Back and forth game. Anthony, you're right. Back and forth game. It's really close. The thing that worries me a little bit from the Packers side is their 4 losses this year have been to great teams. And the Lions twice, the Vikings earlier in the season, and the Eagles. So now they play them again. The Vikings, though, they have the longest active winning streak in the league, and they have not really been tested since October. And the Packers, though, seem to be coming in, though, playing much better, playing their best football of the season, averaging a 23-point margin of victory in the last 4 games. They've scored 30-plus in 5 consecutive games, which is the longest active streak in the league. And I think this is a prove-it game for them to go out there and win, especially on the road, to win a big, big game against a divisional opponent here. They're so close because they both rank high in scoring and rushing and third down defenses. But I feel like the Packers might have even a little bit more momentum because this is the best they looked in quite some time. So I'm going to take the Packers to win this one in a big prove-it game for them to show they can win a game against a big opponent. But
this is a literal pick'em game, like quite literally in this sense.
And it should be, because these two teams are two of the best in the league, and it's crazy that one of these two are going to have to, in all likelihood, be the road team in the first round. I mean, think about how you have, 13-2 Lions, 13-2 Vikings, 11-4 Packers.
And one of them has to be the wild card.
Division, yeah, in the same division. I mean, it's just wild. But this should be
no pun intended. No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. But it'll be a very, very entertaining one there, and they'll have this game pretty much all to themselves because there's only 2 4:00 games this week, and the Dolphins and the Browns are starting 20 minutes earlier, so they pretty much do have the whole game, the whole country to itself. Speaking of that, we go to Sunday Night Football at NBC. Anthony, a Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, Melissa Stark special as Michael Penix and the Falcons take on Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. And the Commanders are a 4-point home favorite at Northwest Stadium.
Yeah, I'm very excited to watch this. I mean, we get to watch 2 rookie quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels going up against Michael Penix Jr. I mean, both those guys were Heisman candidates last year. Obviously, Jaden Daniels won the Heisman last year. But both these guys were unbelievable in college, and now I can't wait to see them go up against each other. I know Michael Penix did really well last week, and now we see why the Falcons made the quarterback change. And now the Falcons, I mean, they look smart by drafting Penix, but maybe they shouldn't have signed Kirk Cousins to begin with. But, it did allow Michael Penix Jr. not to be rushed in. He was able to sit back, learn, and now he's able to come in and play and probably be better than if he was just rushed in right away. But, the way Jaden Daniels is playing, I mean, like I said, he locked up the offensive rookie of the year last year with that last week with that performance against the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, with him having 5 touchdowns, I mean, he's an unbelievable quarterback. And what he could do on the ground and as a passer, how smart he is, how accurate he is. I mean, I can't say enough about Jaden Daniels. And I know the Falcons' defense stepped up last week, but that was against the Giants. And the Giants, anybody can look at against them. And I really, at the end of the day, just don't trust the Falcons' defense or their pass rush. And I think Jaden Daniels is going to have a great game here. And overall, I just don't trust the Falcons. So I'm going to go with the Commanders to win and cover in this one.
So a couple of things I got to get out of the way here in terms of scenarios. So for the Falcons to clinch the NFC South title, they need to win and have the Bucs lose. And the Commanders can clinch a playoff berth if they win or tie, or Tampa loses or ties. So actually, if Tampa loses,
then it opens it up.
Well, no, if Tampa loses, then that means and Atlanta wins, then that means both. If I'm reading this right, the Falcons and the Commanders would both make the playoffs. Then they both would clinch playoff spots in the same night. So that's
wild.
That's the playoff scenarios. And just to show you how great this matchup is, this is set to be the first primetime game in NFL history to feature 2 rookie starting quarterbacks selected in the first round of the NFL draft.
Wow.
Because obviously you've got Penix and you have Jaden Daniels. But for the exact reasons that Anthony said, the Falcon defense, I think last week, I mean, look, so we got to give them credit because if you have a bad defense, you usually can't stop anybody. They did step up last week, but they have not been able to stop much lately, and they have not been able to get to the quarterback. That's not good against a mobile guy like Jaden Daniels. I'm taking the Commanders. I think that win also last week rejuvenates them because I know some of you guys said last week, and understandably so, that it looked like the Commanders have been fading for almost 2 months. They've been seemed like maybe the gas tank was emptying. But I think that win gave them new life, and this is a good kind of matchup for them to continue the momentum. I think the Falcons' defense is going to struggle. I'm going to be curious now to see how Penix does just in his second start now, playing on national TV in front of a huge audience in a big game. It's a tall ask for that, especially when you're just basically coming from the bench now to starting this late in the season. Daniels, nothing seems to be phasing him, so I'm going to take the Commanders there at Northwest Stadium. Nick?
Yeah, I'm on the same page here. I think the Commanders are going to win this game. I think beating the Eagles, which I was not happy about last week. I think I had that as a lock last week. If I'm not mistaken, I'm checking that really quick.
The Jet game was your lock last week.
Oh, was it the Jet game? I don't remember. Or I had them a few weeks ago as a lock. I don't remember.
No, yeah, you're right. You had the Rams Jets as your lock, and you won it. Yep.
But I don't know. That game was frustrating watching that game last week. I know Jalen Hurts got hurt. I know it was against Kenny Pickett. I know, but just I think the Commanders, I think that was a big win for them. I think that gives them a little bit of momentum going into this game. And I think Jaden Daniels figures it out. And I think they win and they cover.
And Zan?
Yeah, I like the Commanders to at home. They obviously got a huge momentum boosting win last week against the Eagles, and I don't care that Jalen Hurts didn't finish the game. Beating Philadelphia at home is still just exactly that, beating Philadelphia at home. And the Commanders know that obviously the playoffs are there for the taking. They're at home, probably the biggest home game for the Commanders, arguably since RG3 was their quarterback, so they know that there's a lot at stake in this one. And they're getting a Falcons team where you just don't know what you're going to get. That NFC South is still very extended in itself, so there's playoff scenarios on both sides. You couldn't really ask for a better scenario type game on national TV, but given that the Commanders are at home and given that Jaden Daniels has been playing really, really well as of late, and quite frankly, nearly all season as in my humble opinion, the rookie of the year. I think that the Commanders do enough to win this game and cover the spread and guarantee no matter what happens scenario-wise elsewhere that the Commanders would the very least make the playoffs. So give me the Commanders to win and cover at home. So,
all right. Zan, we ended with you there. We'll finish off the week with you here. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Lisa Salter special on Monday Night Football on ESPN. It is Jared Goff and the 13-2 Lions heading to Levi Stadium to take on the San Francisco 49ers, and the Lions are a 3.5-point favorite.
Yeah, this game was supposed to be bigger a couple weeks ago, but obviously the 49ers eliminated themselves from postseason contention. So now it's all about whether can Detroit get at least one game closer to a potentially 15-win season, which would be a pretty remarkable feat, especially given where the Lions were just a couple of years ago. And I think Detroit does just that. I think Jared Goff has a really nice day throwing the football. I think the 49ers injuries offensively are going to deplete them. They're obviously out of postseason contention now, so they really don't have much to play for other than to play spoiler. And I think even though they're at home, I think Detroit is just simply better on all sides of the ball in nearly every position. And I think with the way Jared Goff has been playing with his efficient, fairly mistake-free football, I think the same thing will continue. So I like Detroit to at least win this game by 10. I think it's going to be somewhere around 24-14, somewhere there. It's going to be potentially a high scoring affair, but I just feel like Detroit will get the lead and they'll comfortably keep it from the run in. So give me the Lions to win this game and cover the spread to close out the slate in week 17.
Anthony?
So I know the Lions got injuries, and I know the David Montgomery injury really hurt the offense because obviously the Lions offense is based on the double running back attack. But the thing is, I think Jabari Gibbs is a good enough running back to kind of make the bell count. We see how explosive he is. So I think the offense is still going to be fine. You still got St. Brown. You still got Laporta. You still got Jameson Williams. So the offense is still really good. And with the injuries that the 49ers have on offense, I don't think they're good enough right now offensively to exploit the Lions' injuries on defense. And we seen what the Miami Dolphins did to the 49ers last week. So I think this line is just way too small. I thought the line was going to be much higher. So that's why not only do I think the Lions are going to win and cover, they're going to be my lock of the week.
I had a feeling you were going to pick this game.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things to look at too. If the Vikings lose Sunday, then this game for the Lions would be for the number 1 seed if they win this game. So they would really have extra motivation to play there. And then Dan Campbell's already said that even if this game doesn't matter, if the Vikings do win, it all comes down to week 18. He's still going to play his guys like crazy. I mean, that's just how he's been this year.
He's one of those guys.
He is. And, and I said this to you guys, I think it was last week, that I worry that he's going to be very risky in a playoff game, and it may cost him. I mean, he was able to get away with it with the Packers a few weeks back, but then it cost him against the Bills.
Look at the onside kicks.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The game against the Bills. I mean, I know they were still down by 10 at the time, but I mean, that was, he had a lot of time left. And then what he did against the Packers when he kind of kicked that field goal. I mean, that's just how he is. But yeah, I've been going against the Lions a lot here because I've been waiting for the defense injuries to show. But the thing that hasn't stopped with them has been their offense. And and like Anthony said, the 49er offense has just been lacking for the last several weeks. I mean, I think, what is it? They've scored 17 points or fewer. 17 points or fewer in 5 of their last 6 games, and they've only won 1 time in that span. I think I got to go with the Lions. And because even if the Vikings lose, then they really have a lot of motivation for this game to get that number 1 overall seed, which I think they could use in the worst way. And if not, Dan Campbell's going to still play his guys hard, and even if he doesn't have to, they could still be up big and maybe rest some of those guys. So all the signs here point towards the Lions to win and cover this game. So that's why I'm going to take them. Nick?
I mean, this line is so blatantly embarrassing by Vegas, the way I look at it. And I know someone who could say something else about it.
Was on crack!
I mean, what is Vegas doing here? Like, are they trying to egg you to take the Niners? Is that what they're doing here? Because there's no reason you would make the line that small if you're thinking, oh, well, maybe the Niners can sneak something away because maybe the Lions have nothing to play for. That's the only thing I could really get at from this spread. This is insane. You could take this spread probably all the way up to like 10 if you wanted to play an alternate spread. If anyone's into alternate spreads, you could take this up to 10 points. They would still win. Like, the Niners are so injury depleted. Like, I'm surprised they can even field the team to put out there. Their running back situation, they're on Deebo Samuel as their starting running back. Don't get me wrong. Deebo has been great, but that's not his natural position by trade. So, yeah, this was another game I was looking at Lock of the Week, but I didn't want to go near it just because I didn't know how motivated the Lions would be. But for sure, this is a very easy cover.
All right, and that'll do it.
Wow. That was fast, too.
Well, we only had 13 games and a bunch of fast tracks, but next week, the regular season finale should be quite the week. Yeah,
I mean, it's fun. I can't believe we're going into week 18 next week.
I can't believe the next time I see you guys, it's going to be 2025.
I can't either.
Yeah, so make sure you follow Football Forecast on social media at TFB Forecast ETB, on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram at TFB Forecast ETB. Follow our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network, to find all the latest stuff going on with the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, whether that's the Football Forecast, whether that's other shows that we have going on. Please make sure you like and subscribe and hit the button and the notification bell as well to make sure you're alerted for everything that's going on with the network. And if you can't watch the video side or any of the podcasts on the video side, listen to the Football Forecast or any of our podcasts wherever you get your podcasts as well. On all audio platforms, we are available. And the Football Forecast is presented by Playback. Make sure you check out our Playback streams. There will be some more NBA coming along the way. MLB will be on the way soon. I did hear that, so that'll be fun to kind of have that coming officially on the Playback side, playback.tv/ETB Network as well. And yeah, it's the next time we do this show, it will be 2025. It's kind of a scary thought, right?
And the regular season finale. I mean, it goes by quicker and quicker every year. But don't forget, we will be with you all the way through the playoff stretch. So we're not going away once the regular season ends, all the way up to our Super Bowl live stream as well.
Nick, and before we get out, would you like to go over the point standings going into this week? That way everybody knows.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. I did forget. So, updated standings really quick. Zan, you are leading now 310. I have 308. Grant has 299. Anthony, you have 294. Nick D has 293. Ben has 288. Pat, I'll give Pat a pass just because he didn't finish his picks last week, but he's technically in last. But that's pretty much it. The records. What?
It's close.
It is close. I went 8-5-3. Zan, you had the big total this week. This past week, 10-4-2. Grant was 9-4-3. Nick D was 9-4-3. Ben 8-5-3. Anthony 7-5-4, and Johnny 6-5-5.
The second half of the week killed me last week. I was doing great, and then the second half just killed me.
Just checking quickly.
My overall record for how I do it, I'm 113, 125, and 2 going into this week. It's been a tough year.
Hey, at least you're not having your issues with ties again. Like that.
This year there have been a lot of hooks with these games this year. That's why I only have 2 pushes this year.
Well, there's going to be some rule changes next year again, so there won't be as many issues with no cover situations either.
Talk in the offseason.
But yeah, that'll do it for week 17, part 2. If you missed part 1, it's up on the YouTube channel if you want to go see that. Enjoy the games. We'll be back for the official last week. That's kind of scary to say, of the NFL season. Then the playoffs come. We do things a little bit differently with the playoffs. I think we pretty much end our point standings at week 18. Usually it's what we do. So last week will be our less competitive records for the week, and then we just pick the games for the playoffs and all that stuff. We'll go all over the fun stuff. We'll give you our schedules and stuff next week because the schedules change for the NFL season once we get to the playoffs. So that'll pretty much do it from here. So for everybody here at the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, have a good week. Enjoy the football, and we will see you back for week 18. Have a good day, everybody.
Happy New Year, friends.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.